Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another World of Warcraft Beginner's Guide video. Whether you're a brand new player who's wondering how the leveling process works, or you're returning to the game after a long break and seeing some changes, the goal for today's video is to get you as much information as possible about leveling in World of Warcraft, as well as some helpful tips to keep you excited throughout your journey. This is not a guide for speed leveling to max, because as I've stated in previous beginner guide videos, I think World of Warcraft is a better experience when you take your time, so I just wanted to make that clarification before we get started. First up, let's start with the basics and a little history. Back in the Battle for Azeroth expansion, max level for characters was 120. When Shadowlands was announced and released in 2020, Blizzard changed it so that they squished the max level back down to 60. There's a number of reasons this was done, but mainly so your journey to max level feels more meaningful and a little quicker. Since then, we've had the Dragonflight expansion and now the current expansion, The War Within, so max level has risen to 80. It's very possible that we will see another level squish after the final expansion in the World Soul Saga, but we'll have to see how Blizzard is going to handle that. We touched on this a little bit in the very first part of the beginner guide, but after you've created your character, if you're a new player, you will be funneled right into the new player tutorial island called Exile's Reach, and you'll start right at level 1. It's a streamlined zone designed to teach new players the core mechanics of the game and some very basics for whatever class you've chosen to level. You'll get a taste of what combat is like, how questing works, and you'll even complete your first dungeon within the zone. If you've leveled characters before, you'll have the option to start in Exile's Reach as well, or you can choose your race's traditional starting zone, which is nice for a story and lore type experience. Either option is good, but if you're looking to get from 1 to 10 and move into other areas of the game quickly, I suggest going the Exile's Reach route. Leveling in World of Warcraft revolves around earning XP, or experience points, with quests usually making up the bulk of your XP earned. As you progress in levels, the amount of experience points needed will increase. Look for NPCs with yellow exclamation points above their heads to start accepting quests, and the game does a good job of directing you in a pretty linear path for quests. But quests aren't the only way you can earn XP. Killing monsters, running dungeons, and even discovering new areas of the map are just a few ways that you can also earn experience. The higher you get in level, the more abilities and talents you'll be able to unlock. You'll get to equip more powerful gear, and you'll get to explore new areas around the world. If you open your map, you can see that each zone in the game has a recommended level range associated with it. If I'm leveling and questing through the Legion timeline at level 12, I probably don't want to venture into Suramar, which is a suggested level 45 to 71 zone, as I'll most likely struggle with killing mobs, or I'll just die a horrible death. If you ever find yourself out-leveling a particular area, which you most likely will, you can abandon specific quests that you had picked up in that area by right-clicking on the quest and selecting Abandon. While you don't have to do this, you'll just get slightly less XP for turning it in when you're a higher level. For new players, once you've completed Exile's Reach and are back in your faction's major city, you'll complete the remaining tutorial quests and then you will get shuffled to the Dragonflight expansion. But guess what? If you don't want to level from 10 through 70 in Dragonflight, you don't have to. You can simply choose to ignore Rathian or Abyssian if you're Horde when they infiltrate your screen trying to get you to start the questline for the Dragon Isles. Instead, you can choose your own experience within Azeroth and beyond by entering Chromie Time. Speak to Chromie here in Stormwind and over here in Orgrimmar, and click the Select a Timeline, which will open up the Time Walking Campaigns interface, where you can then choose what expansion you'd like to level 10 through 70 from. She'll give you a quest designed to start the leveling in that zone, and you can then start your adventures. However, there are a few things I want to mention before you run off. Once you pick a timeline in Chromie Time, you are technically not locked into leveling in just that expansion. The whole of Azeroth will scale to you. You can literally go anywhere within the game to start your leveling. For example, if you chose the Warlords of Draenor expansion, that scales everything to your level from 10 through 70, but it also scales every other expansion from 10 through 70 as well, so you're free to go to Northrend or Pandaria if you want. This is helpful for those that are leveling through an expansion, may get bored of those zones, and would like to do something else. Instead of having to go back to Chromie and change timelines each time, you can just head to whatever zone you choose and continue on leveling. If you're hopping back and forth between expansions and aren't sure where to go or what to do, check your adventures guide, your map for any quest markers, or even the Hero's Call or Warchief command boards in your city. The only time you may want to change your timeline is if you're looking to run dungeons in another expansion. So if you chose Legion as your timeline, the only dungeons you'll be able to queue for are Legion dungeons. An exception to this is if you're leveling with a friend and they chose Burning Crusade as their timeline. When you party together, then you both would have access to queue for Legion and Burning Crusade dungeons. This all may sound a bit confusing, and that's totally fair, but just know that once you turn on Chromie Time for one, Chromie Time is on for all. The second thing I want to note is the Cataclysm timeline. For whatever reason, leveling in cata content doesn't start until level 30. If you choose the Cataclysm expansion to level, you'll still enter Chromie Time, but she'll direct you to the Hero's Call board to choose a different objective until you hit the required level to do specific Cataclysm quests. Once you make it to 30, just head back to the Hero's Call board or Warchief's command board, and there should be a call for Mount Hyjal, which will start the quests for that zone. Chromie sorts the classic vanilla zones within the Cataclysm timeline, so if you go to the Hero's Call board, you'll most likely see some Hero's Calls for vanilla zones. If you ever want to leave Chromie Time, just talk to her and select Return Me to the present timeline. Now you might be asking yourself, where should I go? I have no idea what any of these timelines mean. Let's walk through each one together. The portal to Outland will take you through the Burning Crusade expansion. You'll traverse through the Dark Portal into Outland to stop the Burning Legion from invading Azeroth. Fall of the Lich King will take you through the Wrath of the Lich King expansion to the Icy Wastes of Northrend in order to stop the Lich King's reign. The Cataclysm tears Azeroth apart as Deathwing emerges from his lair, causing destruction, and you must quell the fury of the elements to stop him from succeeding in the Cataclysm expansion. The Wilds of Pandaria will take you into the misty wonders of Pandaria to help stop an ancient evil that has awakened and terrorizes the lands. Travel to the past to Draenor as you witness the Dark Portal yet again, and work with heroes and allies to build a garrison as an Iron Horde works to invade and conquer Azeroth in the Warlords of Draenor expansion. Land on the Broken Isles in the Legion invasion as the endless numbers of the Burning Legion rain down, intent on destroying Azeroth. The drums of war thunder once again as the Horde and Alliance are back into battle with each other as you sail to Kul Tiras and Zandalar. Travel to the Shadowlands to fight against the Jailer after Sylvanas Windrunner acts like a spoiled brat and dark forces take over to try and claim Azeroth. Just kidding. I love you, Sylvanas. The Dragon Isles await for you to take to the skies to help the Dragonflights reclaim their homeland and ignite the magic that has been lost. I see a lot of new players thinking that they have to level up through all the expansions in order to understand the storyline up to the current expansion. Most expansions you play through have their own contained story for the most part, so it's not necessary for you to play through all expansions in order to know what's happening. There's a ton of lore behind World of Warcraft, and trying to learn it all through the different expansions could take you thousands of hours of reading through quests and watching in-game cinematics. And it's really just a lot to take in. That's why Blizzard streamlined the leveling process with Chromie Time in order to save new players from having to quest through every single zone from every single expansion. You'll see recurring characters often throughout each expansion, but just know that you're not missing out on a whole encompassing storyline by skipping through. Once you've made it to about level 70 and 71, Chromie will start to direct you back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar to head back to the present time to start current expansion content. Besides defeating monsters and completing quests, there's actually a few other fun things you can do in the game to earn experience to level. One of my favorite ways is with gathering professions. You can do this while you're questing throughout the zones. I recommend taking herbalism and mining, as every time you pick up a flower and mine ore, you'll get a good chunk of XP. Not to mention that it's a great way to also make gold when you put those materials up on the auction house. Depending on what timeline you chose for your leveling adventures, you may occasionally see something called bonus objectives throughout the zones. These were introduced in the Warlords of Draenor expansion and reward gold and experience points when you complete them. Running dungeons in your timeline is a good way to break up some of the monotony of questing. A lot of the older dungeons are super quick to run through and can earn you a level or two. Not to mention that a lot of dungeons have NPCs at the beginning that offer quests to complete while in that dungeon, also earning you some extra experience. In the Dungeon Finder interface, you'll find a tab for PvP. You can run random battlegrounds specific for your level and get rewarded some XP, but only if you win. The XP gained from battlegrounds is nothing to really get excited about, but I wanted to mention it here just in case you were curious. Whenever you park your character at an inn or you're lounging in a capital city, you'll start to earn rested XP. You'll know that you're receiving rested XP as your experience bar will turn blue and your character will display little Z's above their character portrait. You'll gain 5% of rested XP for every 8 hours, and an XP gain bonus from killing monsters until it's depleted. So always make sure that when you log out, you're in a rested XP area. While we're on the subject of resting, let's take a moment to chat about your Hearthstone. You get this immediately when you start playing the game, and how this works is, if you head to an innkeeper and talk to them, you can set your Hearthstone to be bound to that particular location. When you use your Hearthstone, it will then return you back to wherever you set it to. Currently, I'm in the Pig and Whistle Tavern, and I set my Hearthstone to take me back here, so that no matter where I am in the world, I will be teleported back here whenever I use it. So that is leveling in the World of Warcraft. Look out for part 4 of the beginner guide as we'll go over keybinds and some suggested settings you may want. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with your friends. You guys are awesome, and I will see you in the next video.